Today, we had the pleasure of chatting with Julia Martin, a manifestation and business mentor. She combines proven business tactics with her true passion, mindset, and manifestation. Her approach involves a combination of science, strategy, and energetics, and her mission is to help others create fulfilling lives and careers. During this episode, Julia breaks down her process for manifesting called the D.R.E.A.M.S method and helps walk us through some of our own limiting beliefs.
She talks about the importance of moving through emotions even when they are uncomfortable and her tools for shifting out of them into higher vibrational feelings. She also shares how integrating spirituality into her life has allowed her to surrender to the infinite possibilities within her business and tap into a new level of joy. Julia is such an expander for the both of us and is a beautiful example of what living your fullest and brightest life can look like. Enjoy this episode.
All right. Well, Julia Martin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
So for anyone listening who isn't familiar with your work, how do you describe what you do?
Okay, so this I've been working on because I get asked this question a lot and I could answer it a bunch of different ways. But to sum it up, I'm a manifestation and business coach. And I think I do a lot of different things for different people, but it's all under the vein of I really want to help people intentionally create lives that they love, lives that are aligned and fulfilling and joyful.
And
That's
what
it.
was the what was the catalyst to this work? Because for anyone listening, I work with Julia, and it's been such an honor to kind of watch you in your process and how you have manifested all the things in your life, even just over this past year. But I was like, this will be such a great opportunity to kind of know about your story from before this time. So maybe like, have you always had these spiritual interests, or what was that like moment where you were like, you know what, I really feel like I want to help people create their dream life?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I've always been spiritual at all. In fact, that's a new territory for me, spirituality. I will say in kind of we can talk about like definition, but um I have always been what I would call a powerful manifester. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have a name for it, but I it started from when I was the earliest I can remember is when I had a diary and I would write down after every entry, I would write down the things that I wanted. It would be like goals, like guys that I wanted to, like me, or really silly things, a new pair of shoes, how I wanted to feel. And then I would do this thing where I would write it down and then I would kind of think about it happening. And it always happened. And I used to just think, wow, I'm a really good goal setter. And then when I discovered what manifestation was, it was after I'd graduated college and was actually in a really low place, lowest place. It was my rock bottom. I had been laid off 3 times. I was just surrounded by people who had a victim mentality. I was partying all the time. I was just had zero confidence, and I was kind of looking around my life being like, how did I get here? Why is everything so hard right now? And I was gifted this book called Infinite Possibilities that introduced this idea of manifestation, that we are the creators of our lives, that if you get really focused and visualize what you want, and there's other steps, you can make anything happen. And that was the moment where I'm like, oh my God, I know what this is. I've done this before. I've done this. It does work. And I was like, I'm just gonna actually put this to the test and do something and write down something and focus on something that I think is crazy right now, but that would kind of answer all my problems. And that is getting a job at Google. And I did all the steps and I focused on it. I remember I pull up pictures of Google campus and I visualize myself there. I knew nobody, right? Like I had a resume that had 3 layoffs and like would work at 6 months here and there. I had no experience and I got a job at Google. And the moment that I did, um, I remember exactly where I was. I was in a parking lot in El Segundo and I just started sobbing with like goosebumps, but not because I got the job, because I realized this works. This works. I figured out like this life hack. So it wasn't this spiritual understanding. It was more like I know the ultimate life hack to creating my reality.
Wow. And it's crazy how naturally that came to you, that from a child you kind of knew this process. I'd love to hear what that process does look like, kind of start to
Yeah,
finish,
yeah,
the energy that you're in from, we can talk about that moment of Google or anything that you're calling in.
yeah.
What does that look like for you?
Yeah, and I think in high school, and this is one of the reasons, and we can talk about this later, why I wanted so much to bring these teachings to high school students or even younger, is because when we're younger, we tend to not be flooded with so many limiting beliefs about what is possible, and we're more in like a dreaming state. Oh, what is our future going to be look like? What, this is what I desire. And it's not like, well, you can't have, well, I mean, for some people, of course, like some others have those, but I think for the most part, when you are younger, um, you don't have so many self-imposed limiting thoughts. And that's a really big piece of manifesting is you have to believe that what you want is possible. Our thoughts are so powerful. So if we, to answer your question, Danielle, the way I think of the steps, and now I have kind of a framework, um, the first thing you need to do, which is ironically the part that trips people up the most, even though it feels like it's the easiest, and it's so simple. Ask for what you want. Write it down. It's like everyone's like, oh, listening, probably like, duh. But no, most people ask for what they don't want. I don't
Mm.
want to be in this relationship. I don't want to be in this job. I don't like my roommate. I don't like this. I don't want my boyfriend to do this anymore. I don't want, and that's what we're putting out is more of that. So the key in that, the first step of manifesting is to get really clear on what you do want. And this is hard. This isn't like for a lot of, especially for adults, sometimes we just don't know. I don't know what I want my career to look like. I don't even know what I want to do, let alone where I want to live. So there is some work that goes into getting clear on that. What do you desire? But once you get clear on it, you write it down. There's so much power in writing things down. It is crazy. I mean, I know Savannah, now you've done like the TikToky like 333 methods and stuff, which people make fun of them, but my whole philosophy is like they all work. Like they all work because the whole idea is writing things down and focusing on that is creating an energy. And that energy is then attracting those things back to you. Energy attracts like energy. This is law of attraction. This is science. But that first step is asking for what you want, declaring it, writing it down. I actually, my very first episode of my podcast, I have a very simple tool for anyone listening who's like on their manifestation journey but wants to just start with something easy. Grab your phone and write a list of 10 things that you desire. 10 things, and just don't try. The thing that holds us back is like when we try to be like, okay, is this possible or is it not, or how long will it take, or but how am I going to actually just write it down. That's it. Just write it down, and it can be as you know materialistic as you want, or as philanthropic as you want, or just anything that's coming to you. Write it down and then look at that list. The best way to do it is look at it at least twice a day. But if you look at it just once a day before you go to bed and you kind of look it over and you just kind of picture those things, watch what happens. And I did this podcast episode and I can't tell you how many people have DM'd me saying, "Oh my God, that worked." Like, I don't know how it was this crazy thing that happened, but oh my, it's just, so that's it, because that's the part of declaring what you want. So the first step is to declare it, but the second, which is getting back to, these beliefs being the foundation of what we can manifest. You have to believe that those things are possible. And not that you have to go through one by one, although you can, but I think it's really getting clear on what are all my fundamental beliefs about what I think is possible for me. And you can go through and there's a lot of work you can do about it, but I think an easy way to do it is just kind of becoming aware of your thoughts during the day. And if you notice things like, um, you see someone doing something on Instagram and you're just like, oh, I could never do that. Okay, perfect. That's a limiting belief right there, because anything is possible. If someone else is doing it, it's possible for you too. And so just first becoming aware of all these thoughts that you have that are limiting you from where you want to go. Another way to do this is to take something very specific that you want. So let's use one of yours. Let's share something that maybe is on your vision board, or that you guys would desire right now.
Oh, that's vulnerable. You want to go?
Well, okay. One thing that Savannah and I always talk about, well, this is a more recent thing, is every winter we want to go somewhere tropical.
Ooh.
That's like something we want to call in as like a regular thing in the middle of winter, going somewhere tropical.
I'd love for my birthday on January 27th every year to be in my bathing suit on a beach somewhere warm.
Okay. Okay. So that's declaring it. Have you guys written that down somewhere?
No. Did we write it down?
I don't think we have. I think we
just talked about it.
Yeah.
We did it this year, but okay.
Yeah, you did it this year. Write it down. In fact, have a list in your phone that has or it doesn't have to be in your phone. I just like the phone because you always have it. And so it's easy to look at it, twice a day or once a day. Write it down, and write it down just as a little bullet point, like, tropical every winter or whatever. Something that's going to remind you. And when you look at it, you close your eyes and you see yourself in that bikini, but you don't just see yourself, you feel it. You smell the air, you see yourself. Maybe you change it up every time you look, because it's going to be different locations. Maybe there's somewhere specific you want to go, but you just every night, just for a second, 2 seconds, you think about it. Now, when it comes to reframing any resistance you have, I have to ask you guys, and maybe this is different for each of you, why can't you have that every year?
I think for me, it's a financial thing of I don't know where I'm going to be financially at that time every year. So for me to set that aside, I'm like, well, what if it gets to that point and I'm like, I can't afford this?
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I think, financial is going to be, definitely that seems frivolous to do that again the next year when we did it last year. But another thing that, well, I don't know if this ties into a limiting belief or just something that tacks on to that manifestation or want, is I have a vision of us doing a retreat somewhere tropical. So I'm maybe that's kind of what I envision is maybe something else will bring us there. And it won't just be a birthday trip.
Yeah.
So.
And then the limiting belief there, what scares us is we put all this time and energy into planning something and no one shows
comes.
up.
Okay. Well, that feels like two different things, and we can cover each. So for the first one, which is, let's actually say it as a statement. What is the belief that's actually creating the fear or the
don't have enough money?
I won't have enough money.
Yeah.
I won't have enough money. Okay. How do we reframe this? The reframe has to come from you. What do you want to believe? And when I say what you want to believe, we also, this is a good kind of segue into affirmations, because I think affirmations can be really powerful, but they can also be psychologically damaging when you don't believe them. So if you're I'm rich and famous and can go to a tropical vacation whenever I want, and you're saying it out loud, and you're like, no, I don't feel that way though. That's not good. That's actually going to do the opposite. Because remember, everything is energies. So the feeling is what is attracting it back to you. What can you believe, or how can we frame this into what you want to believe that actually feels good?
I always have enough money to go on vacation every winter.
Yeah, I have more than enough money where I can't.
Yeah. Or how about, it's always worked out when I wanted it to. I always figure out a way to it always ends up working out for me. How does that feel for you?
That feels more correct because we've gotten real thrifty with some of our trips and we've made things happen that have surprised us. So I feel like even that, like, it always works out. I'm like, I can believe that.
Yeah. I mean, like I booked a partnership for my birthday trip where it's like we got the accommodations. You know what I mean? So like,
well, perfect. So how about I'm resourceful?
yeah.
I'm resourceful. It's always worked out, and maybe even it keeps getting easier as our business grows, as the exposure grows, as I feel more confident in myself, I am becoming more and more resourceful. Money is flowing to me in different ways. Like this is the type of thing. And so with the reframing, first you get clear on that, because whether you like it or not, that belief of like, will I ever have enough money, or what if I don't? Like that's creating an energy that's subconsciously or consciously affecting what's showing up for you. So this step is about being aware of what that is. And then when you feel it creeping up, like, you're looking at Costa Rica for next year, then you're like, oh, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to stay. No, I am resourceful. Things have always worked out for me. It actually is getting easier, and you just start repeating that. And it's like, it doesn't happen immediately. It's not like you're just going to replace that little belief. And it's like, now it's a practice, just like anything else, like meditation, just, you catch it and you reframe it. And the way it's working is by how you feel. That's it. If it starts to feel better, it's working. Our feelings are a barometer, or as Abraham Hicks, who I love Abraham Hicks, says, your feelings are your point of attraction. Just be aware of how you feel. So when you have that, oh, I don't know if I can, just search for a softer feeling thought, search for a better feeling thought. And then if you have some of those in your arsenal that you go to a lot, pull from those, tell yourself those until you feel better. And then you look at that picture and you're like, yeah, can't wait for that.
Yeah. I mean, we need to finish because we're not even finished with the process, correct?
Yeah, right. Okay. So that's the reframing.
No, but I just wanted to say something before that, because working with you and just like observing you, you're so magnetic, and you give off this energy that I know other people really crave for themselves and just to be around. And as you're talking, because I'm like, what is it? Like, I literally am like, what is it? What is that thing? And it's like, I'd be curious to know, but you don't really have a lot of doubt. I think that's it. Like you said, it's like, how do I feel? So you're very aware of how you're feeling, like all the time for the most part. And I can see you just like, it's like a subconscious thing now where you're shifting those beliefs like almost instantaneously. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who maybe is struggling with shifting the beliefs? Like, yeah, I know I need to, but right now it feels really hard to like shift out.
Oh, and I have a lot of doubt. Like I think I've for my business and for things that feel like a little less personal, it's really easy for me now, because I can like shift out of it. I use these tools, but there are some things that I have tried all the tools and they hold me back. And Savannah, some of them, but I still have a lot of fear about what people think of me, and fear of judgment. I mean, recently I had a reel that was just starting to go viral, and I went into full panic mode, and all the dark thoughts started coming in, and I pulled it, which, my future self would be like, what are you doing? Like, this is how you grow. But so I don't want to say that I don't have doubts or there aren't like limiting beliefs that hold me back, because there definitely are. I think to your question about the person who's like, the question was,
how do you shift out of those, because I think it's easy for someone to hear that, but then actually like putting that into action, like, I think we all know what it feels like when you want something and you're working towards it and you have it written down in your phone and you're every day showing up, and then one day you wake up and that limiting belief is just like really strong, and you're like, how am I supposed to shift out of this? I know I'm supposed to, like, what you're supposed to do, but sometimes it's easier to like actually put it into action.
I think
Does
we
that
need,
make sense?
yeah, I think we need to get specific on what that might be. Let's use an example.
Mm. I mean, I guess okay, we'll go back to us. It's like, and we'll go back to the podcast and in our business and stuff. It's like we get reflections every day, all the time about how impactful our podcast is and how much people enjoy it and how it's changed their life and all of these things. And we, for the most part, are very patient and very like aware that good things take time to grow. But then some days we wake up and we're like, why have we not like you'll watch someone else, and that's when comparison comes into play, but like you'll watch someone else who's maybe focused more on like pop culture or like just surface level conversations, and their podcast blows up, you know what I mean? And it's like, we've been out here treading water for a while now, but I mean, we've gotten really good at what we do, but yeah, just getting kind of frustrated with being like, you know, at what point is this going to hit the way like we visualize it hitting, you know, reaching so many people, affecting so many more people, for good, for positive.
Yeah. So there's a few thoughts that I have on this. One is that, well, first of all, everyone knows this, but comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. No, yeah. I know. And I know that. That's what I'm saying is like, you know, that deep down, I know I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. And I personally, you know this too, Savannah, I don't look at what other people are doing really.
Yeah.
Because I know how it makes me feel. I know what it does to my thoughts, and I've seen what it does to other people too. It just gets you off your game. It gets you like off the vision and the mission, and it creates self-doubt. It's like, it's really, social media can be a bad place for manifesting what you actually want. But not, okay, but like, let's be realistic. It's part of your job too. And it's important to see what other people do. I think, because there's a few different things going on here, but I think when it comes to comparison, which again, can really throw us off, can create a lot of limiting beliefs in and of itself. I have flipped that whole thing to, if this is another Abraham Hicks thing, and they said that when you see someone doing something that where you're feeling, not that, but like the feelings are coming up, like I want what they have, that's a really good thing. Because what it means is that is something that you threw into your vortex, that your soul craves. Because I bet if you're looking at, like, I don't know, some people could look at Princess Kate and be like, oh, I want her life. And I doubt, it doesn't seem like you guys would want that. Right? Because like, that's not what your soul wants. Your soul probably doesn't want to be a princess and live the royal life, but a lot of people do. That's kind of a silly example, but or an athlete or something. But someone who has a really successful podcast, that is something that your soul wants. So what it's doing when you see that, when this is Abraham Hicks says, you go, ah, thank you for pointing out the vibrational gap. That's what she calls it. What you have, this already exists for me. And you are just pointing out that, yes, this is what I want. I really do want a more successful podcast. And then you can go back to, why do I want this for myself? That person has their own reasons. I want this because I want to make more impact. I want to be financially abundant so I can give back and have experiences and bring my family and friends along. I want, get it back on you and your vision and less about them. In fact, thank them for showing you that that's where you're going. But I think the other piece of like the self-doubt is when you can really go back to you and your focus and your vision, and then also remember, and this is actually the last step we'll get to, but it's all working out. Like, there's a reason that it's taking longer for you guys, longer in the way that you're thinking about it now. This is all part of the journey. In fact, maybe if your podcast had blown up a year ago, it wouldn't have been the right time. Maybe there's like learning and growth that's happening for both of you right now. And I think then the last piece, there's the contrast. when you work really, really hard for something for a really long time, and then the thing pops up or you find the success, it feels so much sweeter. It feels so much better. You've worked for it. You know what the other side is like. It's like the journey all becomes part of your story. So we have to remember that, like, sometimes when the thing isn't manifesting, there's a greater reason for it. Keep going. I know for me, like, I spent 15 years in a corporate job that I mean, there's so many things I was grateful for, but it felt so misaligned. There were some days where I got promoted. This is bad. I got promoted at Google and I had to leave the office because people were like, "Congratulations." And I left and I just started sobbing because for some reason I just like now I'm further in this thing that just I don't like it. I don't like what I do. I don't This doesn't feel aligned. And I think back about that moment so many times, and it makes me so grateful to get to be doing what I'm doing now. Like, and if I just never had that experience of misalignment or, like, challenge and not liking what I do, like, there's no way I would go through the challenges I go through now in the same way, with the same mindset, with the same gratitude, because you need to experience the other side. So that's kind of a long-winded way of answering that, but I think the short answer is remember that if you're doing all the things, you're doing all the things, and it's just not meant to manifest yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think those are beautiful reminders because it's things that we know at our core. But like Savannah was saying, when you have those moments of doubt, it's like all of those things almost like go out the window for a moment.
I know.
So bringing that back and you're like, yeah, I know. Why are we doing this? Like there is a mission behind this. So thank you for that reminder.
Okay. Well, I want to take it one step further. Like Danielle said, I know that, but when it still comes up,
Yeah.
like I wake up in the morning and I'm flooded with, or maybe use you as an example. You wake up in the morning around something and you're flooded with doubt. Like, what do you do?
Oh,
Like
I go
tangible
outside.
steps.
I go outside.
Okay.
I go outside.
Oh yeah,
I
easy.
go outside.
Go outside.
No, I know that sounds so like that.
No. I
morbid.
love it. No,
No,
it's
I
so
go.
accurate.
I go
Yeah.
outside in nature. I mean,
Yeah.
go outside in nature and look around and just flowers and animals and the sky, and like, that's when I also go and read. Alex calls these my Bibles because I like will read a little passage and then put the book away. Sometimes I need to just reconnect with my spirituality and be like, oh my God, this is all just a dream. Like, this is we're on a floating ball in the middle of a universe. Like, I I do believe that we all have souls, and I do believe that this is all an experience that we chose. And sometimes I just need to like get into nature and get out of my head and out of the work and out of the things and be like, oh yeah, this is a magical universe we live in. And then I go back and I'm like, okay, I feel a little better. The whole thing also is I think it's one is like we have to honor those feelings too. Like, we have to feel them. I think the biggest struggle that we all face, one of the greatest struggles, is the self-judgment of having those feelings. So yeah, you're frustrated. Like, that person is blowing up after like a silly like celebrity commentary thing, and we've been here for years being authentic, bringing really cool conversations, and just feel that. I've now been doing this thing, you've heard of the 90-second rule. Basically, so if you can take 90 seconds, you can time it if you want, and feel the emotion. I am feeling frustrated. I am feeling jealousy. I am feeling anger. I am feeling whatever it is. Name it. If you can name it, like, that's really important. And then take 90 seconds to feel it. Notice where it sits, how big it is, how it's moving. Is it expanding? Is it in your chest? Is it in your stomach? And just feel it, like, really, like. So I do this a lot. I'm like, oh, usually I have it right here, and I'm just like, okay. It hurts sometimes, like tears will come. Wait 90 seconds, and it usually passes. It usually passes. And so, or at least it's not so strong, right? And then you can be more objective with your thoughts and realize, okay, this is just an emotion. I'm feeling it. I'm not trying to push it away. I'm not judging myself for this. I'm not judging myself for being on social media and getting distracted by other things. Like, I just needed to feel that emotion and then let it pass. And then what happens is you start to metabolize it. And then when it comes up again, it doesn't have that heaviness to it. Then you
Yeah.
do all your other tools. So then you reach for a better feeling thought. And sometimes the better feeling thought is just like, I tell myself, I've been here before. I've had this feeling before. And then I wake up the next day and I'm on fire. So I'm
Yeah.
used to this, and then that goes to, okay, I'm actually already feeling a little better. And then that leads to, I feel like something good is going to happen later today. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm going to get an email or like something. And then you just go about it and then something good happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and as you were talking about that, I was thinking about Abraham Hicks too, and how sometimes you just like going outside. Like sometimes you need to drop whatever you're doing and just get up and go do something else,
Yeah.
and follow the good feeling. So
Yeah.
this has all been very good because these are all questions it's like that I've had. And I'm just so curious, like how you move through them. Cause I'm like, do you have these feelings
Oh
too?
my gosh. You know, it's so funny, Savannah. I had this, I worked with this girl. When I was at Google and Twitter, I'm innately a very positive person. Like my parents said, when I was little, I would just wake out of bed, like wake up and just have a smile on my face, and I can't help it. I think I'm just wired that way in some ways. And some people have like hate. I've gotten a lot of toxic positivity. You're not always that happy, and why are you always smiling? My whole life, I've gotten that. Smiley Riley. My last name was Riley, and they'd call me Smiley Riley. But I had this coworker who I thought was so brilliant and interesting and funny. And anyway, she emailed me recently or DM'd me after I had shared, I was going through something and I was like, I'm in my head about this thing and I don't know how to reframe it, blah, blah, blah. And she just wrote, I've thought so many times about does someone like Julia ever have a worry? Does someone like Julia ever have a bad day? And it was so nice to hear that you do. And I responded, I'm like, oh my God, I have so many. But I think the difference is I don't sit in those feelings. And I don't sit in the feeling of like I feel my emotions and I definitely like sadness and stuff, but I won't let myself sit in the feeling of frustration or stress or like resentment, jealousy, anger. I am so aware of those that I'm like, these are not helpful feelings. I'm gonna, get clear on what they are, name it, but I'm gonna get out of that. And I'm a very intentional about that because I know that my energy is everything. And going back, it's my point of attraction. And if I can be intentional about shifting out of it, whether it's going outside or doing some journaling or anything, it's going to change what shows up in my life and in that day.
I love that. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that you do take the time to feel it because I feel like a lot of people feel like you said, when someone is so positive, it's like, oh, they just don't experience these things. And that's just not true.
No.
But you give yourself the space to feel it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, time to move on because it's not helpful if you just sit in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we know the thing that we want.
Yeah.
We've figured it
Yeah.
out. We've written it down. We've looked at it. We felt the energy of it. We've
reframed our limiting beliefs around it.
Yes. What's next?
Okay, so we're going through the D.R.E.A.M.S method, by the way. This is my
I was like, this is
little signature.
her bread and butter right here. Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny, and this is not the time for this conversation, but I did a spirit guide reading with this woman who Jessica Rachel, who I've had on my podcast, I think 7 times now. And those are my most downloaded episodes, which I always thought it was like very woo for my audience, but people love it. Anyway, she called in my spirit guides. This was at the beginning of my business, and I was feeling really anxious because I was like, it was something about I had run a workshop. It was my first like manifestation workshop. And the feedback that I had gotten, there was a couple people who said like a couple things that, what I had shared was this. And I got so it was just like, it wasn't criticism. It was supposed to be constructive, but I was like, oh, I blew it. I never want to do this again. And anyway, my spirit guide was like, first of all, you didn't blow it. This was your first time ever. You're going to get better, but you're not actually meant to teach this one-on-one. Like you're going to have a framework. And I'm like, a framework? What do you mean a framework? And my spirit guide is like, trust me, you're going to have a framework and you're going to be teaching it on a much bigger scale. You're not going to be sitting one-on-one walking someone through, because at this workshop I had gone individually and kind of like worked through people's things. And they're like, no, you're going to have a framework and you're going to share it. And it's going to be much more like large scale. And then anyway, I was on a run, and I was thinking about my steps, because someone was like, what are your steps to manifesting? This is a very common question. And I was like, what are they? And I was like, okay, well, it's first, putting it out there, declaring it, and then you have to reframe your limiting beliefs. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, it's dreams. It makes the acronym dreams. And I just got full goosebumps because I love something that works like that. So my spirit guide was right. And I've since used this framework, and it's in my curriculums for high school students. I'm teaching it on much larger workshops to corporations. And so little shout out to my spirit guide, whoever they are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
But
gosh.
the next step, so we did D was declare it, R is reframe, E is envision. So I mentioned this with Google, and this is where you close your eyes and you imagine it happening. This is the daydreaming part. And we don't have to get all into visualization. I'm sure you guys have talked about it on your podcast, but it is an incredibly powerful tool. Every major athlete uses it, right? You make the free throw in your head before you do it. You sink the putt. Like it's a tool, because your brain is practicing for what's to come. And the more you practice it, the more you focus on it, the more you're actually rehearsing, and it's going to happen, and you're going to see the things that are going to support it happening. So I envision all the time, and I could talk about a million things that I have envisioned. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is what I picture exactly. I've done it. This is what I used to do in high school too. And I was obsessed with the TV show Friends. I had a coffee table book, and I would close my eyes and envision myself sitting on the orange couch with Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer. And long story short, twice in high school, I got backstage by myself, snuck into the set of Friends with thousands of people who were trying to get in. I got driven in a golf cart backstage, sat on that orange couch, had a conversation. I never got to meet Jennifer Aniston. That's okay. But I did have a conversation. Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, actually, I've met her, but like in passing. But anyway, got to sit next to David Schwimmer and have a conversation with him, sitting on the orange couch. That is how powerful visualization is. Like
Wow.
it works. So you close your eyes and you picture that thing happening. And the one little thing about envisioning that I think is really important is you want to imagine it in the first person. So at least this is how I do it. It's not like you're watching a movie of yourself. You are the eyes of the camera, kind of, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I like, you look around, or if you're envisioning you want a new car, see your hands on the wheel driving it. See yourself pulling out and then waving out the window, and then getting out and seeing what it looks like as you walk away. If you're envisioning a new home, open the door and walk in and look around. Look down at your little high heels on the staircase, whatever. Put yourself in it, and then feel the feelings of what that's like. And smell, use all your senses. the sight, obviously, but like, is there a breeze in the air? Okay, your tropical vacation. So, smell the salty air. Is there a little like bit of hydrangea too? Maybe a little pineapple. Maybe you smell your sunscreen too. As you walk on the beach, like, are you barefoot? What does the sand feel like? Is it super soft? You know, sit in the chair, pull an umbrella. It's like it's daydreaming. So it should be fun,
Mm.
but really try to get into the feeling of it. And I've done this for like so many things where I'm like, okay, I'm walking up the stairs and I'm going to be speaking to students in high school, and I'm going to be walking up these stairs and I'm going to be grabbing a microphone and they're all going to be looking up, just ready to hear what I have to share. And then I'll have the moment and I'm like, oh my God, I'm walking up, I'm doing this. This is what I have envisioned. It's crazy. Um, so envision is step 3. And then we move into what I call align your energy. And that's everything we've talked about too. And that's just recognizing that the way you feel has an impact on what shows up in your life. And so whenever I do this work, I have a workshop, the Dreams workshop, and I've been actually doing it for teachers. Like as a PD training, because I want teachers, this kind of goes into what I'm doing in high schools, but I want teachers to understand how powerful this is so that they can then teach it to their students in big ways and small ways for, prepping for the SATs, but also for thinking about their future. But teachers need to understand how powerful it is for themselves. So I do this workshop, and when we get to the align your energy, I always do a gratitude meditation, because gratitude is the best way to get out of, or to raise your vibration. And I should have talked about that before when we were talking about how to shift out of it.
Mm.
I think a lot of, like, obviously everyone talks about gratitude, and I think that it's almost like, okay, an eye roll at this point. Okay, say thanks for what you have. It is profound how powerful gratitude can be. It can change your life. Start your day with an attitude of gratitude. Start your day with thinking about the things that you're grateful for. For you guys, I mean, I would every day write down, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. Not only do I get to live with my best friend, but also do this business where we're interviewing fascinating people. I'm so grateful to live in California. I'm so grateful for the smell of hot coffee. Just, it can be minor or big. When you get into that energy of feeling grateful for what you have, you start attracting more things to be grateful for. And so gratitude is the tool. If there's one thing people leave with, it's like gratitude matters when it comes to manifesting what you love or what you want. Attitude of gratitude. So then that's align your energy. Then we move into M, which is make moves. Can't just sit there and wait for the thing to appear. You have to go, you have to have the podcast episodes and get the guests on if you want a top podcast. Like, you're not just going to have a top podcast. You've got to knock on doors. But I think the difference, or how I think about action part of manifesting, is that it goes back to, again, how you feel. It's action from a place of feeling inspired and feeling good. It's not action from a place of like, oh, I have to do this thing, and like the masculine way of just like, get it done and hustle your way through it. I'm working, well, actually I'm working a lot right now, but I'm working less than I did when I was in corporate, and I'm 1 million times more effective. And it's because I'm moving from a place of being inspired. Everything I do, not every, I mean, there's some things that are not fun to do in the business, but like, for the most part, I am moving from a place of being excited about what I'm doing. And that creates more opportunities. I'm always knocking on doors. I'm like, if I have an idea on a run and it's like, sometimes it'll be like, oh, you should just reach out to that girl, Brooke, because she, worked with this one organization and maybe they would be interested in stuff. I actually stop what I'm doing. I write it down. And then as soon as I get home from my run, I reach out to that person. I send a text. I'm like, hey, I just had this idea, or like, let's get a cup of coffee. More often than not, those things lead to something really big. So take action from a place of being inspired, but take action as soon as the idea hits. Don't let it float away. Don't save it for later in the day when you're like, actually, I don't really know. I am going to email Brooke. I don't really want to do that. I don't, I don't know what I was thinking. Just do it, because I think that those are the little, I mean, if we're going to talk spiritual, I think those are the little things that are being dropped to you that are like, this is going to lead to it. So that's the make moves. And then the last piece is surrender. That's the S. And that's the whole just trust that it's all working out. Trust that if you have the vision and you put it out there and you're moving towards it and you're focused on feeling good, it's going to manifest exactly when it's supposed to manifest. Like, it's divine timing. Trust that the challenges are all for your greatest good, and that when things don't go your way, it will all make sense later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like really sitting with all of that. I'm like, yeah, a lot to digest there.
I
Yeah.
know,
No,
I know,
no, but
a
it's
lot.
so powerful. Thank you for going through all of that. I'd be curious, because you've mentioned a little bit about your spiritual, the things that you live by, the concepts or the experiences that you've had, what that transition has been like from kind of coming at this from like a more, I mean, manifestation in like a logical sense, which is so funny because I don't think people would like put those two things together. But a lot of the conversations we have is finding that intersection of spirituality and science. And I think
Yeah.
this is like a great example of that, of you kind of coming from this like logic, action based mindset
Yeah.
towards manifestation and calling in the things that you want. And now you're kind of integrating more spiritual concepts. How that kind of happened. You mentioned Jessica was on your
Jessica,
podcast.
Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica, Rachel. So anyway, I would just love to hear kind of how that's shifted your process or the way you look at your life, and maybe it's like expanded into even more now.
Yeah. I think at a like the if I had to just like sum it up at a high level, now that I've leaned way more into the spiritual side of manifesting, my life feels so much better. Like, the challenges and I mean, as I've shared this before, we really wanted to have a fourth, and um with my others, I've like taken on a manifesting standpoint. I've even with my daughter, this is just one example. I wanted to get pregnant and it was taking a little while. And I was like, oh, I can manifest this. So it was November. It had only been like 3 months, but it was November. And I was like, I am going to act as if I'm going to just put it out there. So I bought an ornament for my husband and it had a pregnant snowman on it. And I said, soon to be a family of 3. And I wrapped it and I put it under the Christmas tree. December 25th, I found out I was pregnant, and he opened it and he's like, and it was that. So he was like, wait, but we just found out today. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
And so that's how I kind of, but this time, we wanted to call in a fourth, and we've, thought a lot about it, and I already have 3 kids. It's crazy, but I've had such a deep calling for this, and it's taken now almost 2 years. I've had 2 miscarriages, and had I before I was really spiritual and into this place of trust, and knowing that there's a journey, and knowing that the challenges are part of it, it would have like really like kind of thrown me off, and I would have probably gotten into a state of really deep sadness, because it is a really heavy thing. This last miscarriage, I knew that it was happening, and I was like, okay, I trust. I trust that there's greater meaning for this. And it doesn't take away from the fact that I still want this and I still want to manifest it, but there was not a single moment of like anger or this like victim mentality, or why isn't this happening, or why can't I manifest it? It's this like, okay, the timing isn't right. Like maybe experiencing this is somehow going to help someone else, so I can share this, or this is part of my growth. This is part of me surrendering more. And so for me, spirituality is the way that I approach spirituality. It's just a way to appreciate life and the ups and downs and everything so much more, and let go of the control, because you can manifest from a place of control, which is what I used to do. And now I manifest from a place of surrender so much more. I don't know if that's answering your question.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, I saw that as you were explaining that. It's like you used to have this relationship with manifesting where you were in the driver's seat. It's like, oh, this is where I want, this is where I'm going. But now it sounds like you're taking a little more of a backseat, understanding that it's a co-creation. And there's kind of this element of like, maybe I don't know what's best for me always, and understanding that there is this deeper level of meaning that we just don't know yet. And like you said, sometimes you go through these challenges and you don't know why you're going through them until you kind of get context later on. And then you're like, oh yeah, I did need to go through that.
100%. And I think the miscarriage was a perfect example, because I was like, but why? Like, why do I need to again have another, like, is like, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. And then it all makes sense, because it ended up being that I did share this, and it helped so many people. It actually, there were so many things that came out of it. So many things that when you're in it and it happens, you just can't see it. But when you're on the other side, it all starts to make sense. And I think that's the same with it's not the same. It's if you take on this perspective, it can be life-changing, because you can look at everything that happens in your life as having deep meaning, and there's always something you can take away from it. There's always growth that can be experienced if you look at it that way.
Yeah. You no longer view things that are inherently negative as negative. They just are.
Yeah.
And you never know that that thing may end up being a positive later on.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Julia, this has been so fun. I'm just like soaking up all this conversation and energy. And I'm just like, I feel so much, I just need to tell you, I just feel so much gratitude for you in my life. And you're such like a living example. And I would love to hear you kind of talk about, I guess, the experience I'm having right now, but like, you're such an expander in my life. Like you're a person I look to where I'm like, okay, like if you really can achieve so much by living a life this way, because I feel like Danielle and I are kind of like, we've been little guinea pigs in our own life of living by our intuition, following, the things that call us, following service, following helping people, the things that light us up, all of those things. But when I started working with you, I was like, oh, this could really play out. Like with everything,
this could really work.
This could actually like turn into something. So I'd love to hear you kind of talk about like maybe that experience for yourself with expanders or people that you look to. Again, it's not comparison, but it's like, that's really cool. Or maybe what you're calling in next. Or, I also just did your future self meditation this week, and that was really fun. So like, maybe that's what you feel like sharing. Like, what does your future self look like?
Yeah. Well, I will say on just the note of expanders, I would not be doing what I'm doing now. No way. If I didn't have expanders in my life. And I'll just, this is kind of like a financial one, but when I was in corporate, one of the reasons I stayed there for so long, especially doing what I was in ad tech. I almost want to gag, say advertising technology, working with software developer kits and mobile app developers. And it was fine. It was fun. I made the best of it, but it was an industry that I felt so pigeonholed, because you make a lot of money, and then you're further every time every year that you're there longer, you get to new levels. And then so I just felt stuck. And when I started my podcast and started like interviewing coaches, of course I had that feeling. I had like a little jealousy, a little like, God, how amazing to be able to do that, and to do something that you're really passionate about. And I was obviously so into manifestation. I'm like, just to be able to help someone with these tools and get paid for it. But I'm like, I'm never going to be able to make enough money to support like our lifestyle and our family the way I'm doing now. And I, you know, I was always equal contributor to the household. There was no me kind of like playing and doing the other thing. And so, and then I interviewed someone, her name is Jocelyn Kelly Reed, and she's like a money coach, but she was talking about how she was very open about how much she makes, but she's like, you know, in my second year of business, I'm making 100K a month. And I was just like, excuse me? And then she's like, yeah. And then later I like DM'd her and had a conversation with her. And I'm like, wait, but is this real money or like what 100,000? Because that was so much more than I was making at Twitter, you know, in this career that I was like, oh, I think that's this. And then I talked to another coach, Kristen Jenna, and she was like, you know, and I had my first 100K month, and I'm like, wait, what? This is real? Like, and she had only been coaching for, and anyway, it's not about the money, but all of a sudden I was expanded to think I could make this a career. And even if I'm not making 100K a month, like if I'm anywhere near that, amazing. It's possible. It's the whole, this is manifestation right here. This is the power of expanders. It's the whole thing, like, you know, for years, I think up until like 1985, no one had been able to run a mile under 4 minutes. And then one guy did it. And the next year there was hundreds of people who did it. We have to believe that it's possible. So the power of expanders is real. If you can, and goes back to the jealousy thing. If you can see someone doing something you want to do, tell yourself, oh, it's possible. Amazing. But I think for me, what's next, and when I think about the future, I mean, things are really good right now. I have like 2 businesses that I really love. I stopped doing one-on-one coaching because I'm starting to do things that are much more scalable. Like I want to reach more people. So I have my group coaching program where I'm helping people build their own coaching businesses, which I just love because I'm still very much, part of me is very masculine, and I love the strategy and the spreadsheets and the marketing and the sales and all that stuff. But then to bring in the manifestation and the spirituality and the feminine, and to help to see people in 12 weeks go from like, I want to become a coach one day, or I want to do something that's helping other people and making good money doing it. And then to see in 12 weeks, they actually do it. Like to see the manifestation is so fulfilling for me. Like it is so cool. I will never stop doing that. But then what I'm doing with high school students, we're just starting, and our curriculums now are across the state of Hawaii. We're in Ohio, and we just got contracted to do the same curriculum, which is mindset manifestation and professional skills and career development for correctional facilities in Hawaii, which I'm so excited about for the imprisoned population. We have a curriculum for special ed students. And none of this, by the way, not to derail the whole thing I just said, but none of this was like, I'm going to write it down and visualize it. It is all just kind of come. Like I never sat down and was like, I want to create a program for prisoners. Like I would have been like, I have no business doing that. Like, no, I can't do that. I don't have that experience, but it's feels so aligned because I think that this population more than anyone could use these tools, especially when they get out and are looking to create a life and career that's fulfilling. It's like, these are the tools. So now I'm in this place where all of this is to answer your question, but it's less about a specific destination and more about moving from this place of this feels so good. And I want to reach as many people as possible and help change as many lives as possible with these tools.
Yeah. I mean, I've given you this reflection before, but everything you're doing, Dream Builders is what it's called, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dream
yeah.
builders.
So everything that you're doing with the curriculum, and again, working with you and watching, it's starting off just being like in Hawaii, working with like a high school or a couple high schools, and then, all over the state. And now you're moving to other states. Now you're working with the incarcerated population, and then, special needs, all of that. It's like, these are things that people talk about, like, oh, school systems need these tools or like, this is what's wrong with this and X, Y, and Z and mindset and whatever it may be. So watching you actually do it is incredible. It's so cool. And just knowing that this is the beginning of it, it's going to be so cool to watch it unfold. Because it's like, individuals who, need coaching or can afford coaching or things like that. It's like, that's amazing, that they have resources where they can, have space to do that. But people like this, the population that like truly, truly needs just like a hand up and, just like that mindset shift that honestly might change their life. Like, it's so incredible. It's the future. Like when you're saying it, I'm like, I don't know if you're familiar with like astrology and how we've shifted into the age of Aquarius and focusing more on community and helping one another. And I'm just like, it's just so cool. It's just so cool. And it's just the beginning. And I keep feeling the word gratitude and just honored to be, a witness to it all. So I'm so excited for you. And
it's been, I mean, I think I text you like every other day how grateful I am for you too. And it's been so cool to have you alongside this too. Cause I think when we first connected, and I think I reached out to Danielle originally or something. I don't know. So, but I found you guys somewhere random too. I don't even know where I found you.
On Upwork.
Oh, on Upwork. That's right. That's right. I found you on Upwork. And that was at the very beginning. None of this had happened. Like nothing in Hawaii had ever happened. Like it's all been, so it's been cool to like also have you by my side, especially these last few months where things have expanded and grown. And I've like, you've almost been coaching me through a lot of things and taught me a lot about spirituality, like more like, I didn't know we're going into the age of, I thought we already had the age of Aquarius.
No, we were in the age of Pisces before. Now we're in the age of Aquarius.
What's the whole song, The Age of Aquarius?
Yeah, they were just calling it in. They knew it was coming. Yeah.
Oh, is this the first time we've ever been in the age of Aquarius?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So see, I don't know. I'm spiritual, but I don't know astrology. I don't know this stuff.
Which is almost more fun because it's like you can you look at your life and you see how it's kind of evolving, and then you can play with these tools and be like, oh, this makes total sense. This is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, I know we got to get off because you have a busy day, but I would love to know if anyone wants to work with you, if they want to follow your journey, how can they do so?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram, Dream Your Life Now, or I guess on TikTok. I'm scared of TikTok. I'm scared of TikTok. So yeah, but Instagram, I'm on stories a lot. And then I have a group program, which I mentioned, Dream Your Biz. That's actually, this is the first time I'm announcing it publicly. I've kind of like teased a little bit, but that will be starting on October 1st. And this is for the woman who wants to build a soulful and flourishing coaching business. It can, if it's calling to you, I mean, there's so many, and Savannah and I have talked about this because coaching is not just, one-on-one coaching like therapy, but there's so many avenues from running workshops to running retreats to creating digital courses to there's honestly infinite possibilities of what you can create and how you can make an impact and how you can make money as a coach. And so this program teaches you all of it and how to build the business, but also weave in manifestation in throughout. So that will be launching October 1st. If anyone is interested, I would love to hear from you, and you can DM me or email me. Maybe you can throw that in the show notes. But other than that, yeah, my website is dreamyourlifenow.com. And
I podcast.
Oh yeah, I have a podcast. My podcast is Dream Your Life, Manifest a Life You Love. And yeah, episodes are dropping weekly. And it's leaning a little more into the woo this season, which has been fun. But there's definitely like the tried and true, like here are the steps, here's what to do. These are the tactical things, because that's how I still operate and think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
whenever I need a little pick me up, I put on one of your podcasts and hear you just, go for a couple minutes. And I'm like, okay, keep it moving. Yeah. You're such a source of light for so many people. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you both. This has been so fun, and it's such an honor. And I feel so, well, obviously connected with you, Savannah, but you too, Danielle. Like you guys have such beautiful energy and dynamic, and Okay, we're manifesting it right now. This podcast, we're going to envision it. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. We're going to picture
Everyone else, close your eyes too. Yeah.
picture it. But I actually am envisioning talking to you. I don't know exactly when it is, so we want to let go of the time. We let go of the date and everything. But I see for you though, okay. Yeah, you're top 10. Top 10. And we're going to be having a conversation and we're going to be talking about this moment right now. And we're going to be like, how cool. We did a little manifestation and here it is. And this podcast has exploded to everything that we thought it would and more. So hold on to that. We're going to be having this conversation very soon.
Ah,
Thank you, Julia. It was so nice to officially meet
It's
you.
so nice
I
to
feel,
meet
like
you.
I said earlier, I feel like I already know you, but yeah, you just have such a beautiful energy, and thank you for taking the time today.
yeah, just ending the podcast crying now. I'm like, oh, but in the best way. In the best way.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Have the best day.
You too. Bye, guys.